Millionaire sees his fiancée humiliating his mother. And what he does next shocks everyone. Michael Anderson was at the peak of his life. At 38, he had built an empire in the food distribution business that started with a small grocery store inherited from his father. Now about to marry Chelsea, the woman he believed was the love of his life, he felt that everything was finally falling into place. It was during the engagement party, on a Saturday afternoon in the garden of his home in San Diego, that something completely shook his certainties. Michael was talking with suppliers when he heard a sharp scream from the other side of the lawn. Turning around, he saw a scene he never imagined witnessing. Chelsea was holding the garden hose, spraying ice-cold water on his mother, Mrs. Teresa. The 72-year-old woman fell sitting on the wet grass, raising her hands in protection as the water continued to be directed at her face. Chelsea's tight black dress contrasted with the older woman's soaked light blue shirt. "Look what you did to my dress," Chelsea yelled, even though she had stopped spraying water. "This dress cost $3,000, and you threw cake on me." Michael dropped the juice glass he was holding and ran toward the two. Several guests had stopped talking and were watching the scene in disbelief. He reached his mother, who was trembling and all wet, and helped her up. Mrs. Teresa was pale, with her grey hair stuck to her face. "Mum, what happened here?" asked Michael, taking off his suit jacket to cover her shoulders. I was just serving the cake I made," began Mrs. Teresa in a trembling voice. "I tripped and a small piece fell on her dress. I apologized right away, son. It was an accident." "An accident?" Chelsea was still upset, her long dark hair swaying as she gestured. "You did it on purpose. Just like you do everything on purpose to annoy me." "Chelsea, for God's sake, it was an accident," said Michael, feeling a strange pang in his chest. He had never seen his fiancée act that way. "Accident? Your mother is always causing trouble. Always." Chelsea's eyes shone with anger. "You don't see it because you're blind, Michael, but I'm tired of putting up with this." Mrs. Teresa began to cry softly, shrinking with the jacket on her shoulders. Michael felt that there was something very wrong with the whole situation. The stain on Chelsea's dress was tiny, almost unnoticeable on the side of the garment. It didn't justify such a violent reaction. "Let's go inside and talk calmly," suggested Michael, noticing that all the guests were watching. His Uncle Jack, his cousin Lauren, the neighbors, his work friends, everyone had witnessed it. "Talk? There's nothing to talk about." Chelsea threw the hose on the ground forcefully. "Either you put your mother in her place, or I don't know if this wedding is going to happen." And saying that, she went inside, slamming the glass door so hard that Michael feared it would break. He stood there with his mother trembling beside him, not quite knowing what had just happened. The engagement party, which should have been a joyful moment, had turned into a nightmare. "Son, I'm sorry," murmured Mrs. Teresa. "I ruined everything." "You didn't ruin anything, Mom," replied Michael, but his voice came out less firm than he would have liked. "Come on, let's get you changed." As he led his mother into the house, Michael noticed something that left him even more confused. Mrs. Teresa was much thinner than he remembered. When was the last time he really paid attention to her? In recent months, he had been so busy with wedding preparations and the company that he barely spoke to his mother beyond good morning and good night. Inside the house, he took Mrs. Teresa to the guest room in the back. He found it strange. Why was his mother using the guest room? Her room had always been the largest in the house, the one with a view of the garden she loved so much. "Mom, why are your things here?" he asked, upon seeing her clothes hanging in the small closet. "Oh, son, it's just—" Mrs. Teresa averted her gaze. "Chelsea said she needed that room for her walk-in closet. It's no problem. This little room here is quite comfortable." Michael felt a knot in his stomach. That little room was less than half the size of the previous one. It didn't have a large window, just a small opening facing the side wall. It was dark and stuffy. "And you accepted this? Why didn't you tell me?" "You were so happy about the wedding, my son. I didn't want to cause any trouble. Chelsea said that after you got married, I could move back to the old room. It's only temporary." There was something in his mother's voice that wasn't convincing. A tone of resignation, of weariness. Michael looked around the cramped little room. On the dresser, he saw several medicine bottles. He approached and picked up one of them. "Mom, are you taking anxiety medication? Since when?" "Oh, it's just a little something Dr. Margaret prescribed. It's nothing serious." "Anxiety isn't serious?" Michael felt increasingly confused. "You've never had problems with that. What's going on?" Before Mrs. Teresa could answer, they heard quick footsteps in the hallway. It was Chelsea, who appeared at the door already changed, wearing a white dress. Her face was still red with anger. "Michael, I need to talk to you, now. I'm talking with my mother, and I need to talk with my fiancé. Either you come or I'm leaving this ridiculous party." Michael looked at his mother, who gestured with her hand indicating he could go. Reluctantly, he followed Chelsea to the main room, the former room of Mrs. Teresa, which was now completely transformed. The walls had been painted grey, a huge closet had been installed, and nothing remained of the cosy space his mother had decorated over the years. "Did you see what she did?" Chelsea began as soon as she closed the door. "In front of everyone, she humiliated me. Chelsea, it was an accident, a tiny piece of cake. You threw water on my mother. And what was I supposed to do? Let her disrespect me?" Chelsea crossed her arms. "Michael, we need to have a serious talk about your mother." "What about my mother?" "She doesn't respect me, she never has. Since we met, she's made a point of belittling me, of showing that I'm not good enough for you." Michael blinked several times, trying to process those words. In their 2 years together, he had never noticed any of that. Mrs. Teresa had always been polite to Chelsea, always welcomed her warmly at home. "My mother never said anything against you." "She doesn't need to say it with words, Michael. It's the looks, the insinuations. That passive-aggressive way women her age know so well." Chelsea approached and put her hand on his arm. "Honey, I understand you have a lot of affection for her, but the time has come for you to make a choice. Either you're on my side, as my future husband, or you're on hers." "That's not fair, Chelsea. Don't make me choose between you and my mother." "That's life, honey. You can't please everyone, and I won't marry a man who doesn't put me first." Michael felt torn. Part of him wanted to defend his mother, to tell Chelsea that she had exaggerated a lot, but another part, the part that was deeply in love, that dreamed of building a family with that woman, hesitated. What if Chelsea was right? What if he really hadn't noticed something? "Look, let's cool off," he suggested. "Today has been a stressful day for everyone. Let's go back to the party and—" "I'm not going back to any party. I'm going to my house, and you should think carefully about what's most important to you. We'll talk on Monday." And so Chelsea grabbed her purse and left the room, leaving Michael alone in the middle of that huge closet, feeling lost. He heard the sound of her car leaving the garage. When he returned to the garden, the party was already winding down. The guests were leaving embarrassed, some murmuring among themselves, others just waving silently. His cousin Lauren, a 45-year-old woman with curly hair, approached him. "Cousin, can I say something?" "Of course, Lou. That scene today, it wasn't normal. You noticed that, right? It was an accident that got out of control." "Michael, throwing water on a 72-year-old woman because she accidentally dropped a small piece of cake isn't losing control. It's meanness, it's cruelty." Lauren's words echoed in Michael's head for the rest of the day. After everyone had left, he helped the hired staff clean up the garden. Mrs. Teresa had locked herself in the back room and wouldn't come out. When Michael knocked on the door to see if she wanted dinner, he only received a muffled, "No, son, thank you." That night, lying alone in his room, Michael couldn't sleep. He picked up his phone and looked at the party photos. There were several beautiful pictures from early afternoon before the incident, but as he scrolled through the photos, he noticed something strange. In all the images where Chelsea and Mrs. Teresa appeared together, his fiancée had a tense expression, almost irritated, and his mother in all of them looked uncomfortable with a forced smile. How had he not seen this before? On Sunday morning, he woke up early and went to the kitchen. He found Mrs. Teresa already making coffee, still in her pajamas. She seemed smaller, more fragile than ever. "Good morning, Mother." "Good morning, son. Want some coffee?" "Yes, but first, we need to talk." Mrs. Teresa seemed to tense up, but sat down at the table. Michael poured coffee for both of them and sat facing her. "Mom, what's really going on here at home?" "What do you mean, son? You're living in the guest room, you're taking anxiety medication. You've lost a lot of weight. And yesterday was awful. I need you to be honest with me." Mrs. Teresa stirred her coffee cup, avoiding looking into her son's eyes. Her fingers trembled slightly. "Son, it's all normal. Women my age have these things. Losing weight, getting a bit anxious. It's nothing." "Mom, please tell me the truth." There was a long silence. Michael could see his mother struggling internally, as if deciding whether to reveal something or not. Finally, she sighed deeply. "Son, you're so happy with this marriage. I don't want to ruin it for you." "Ruin what, Mum? What are you talking about?" "It's just that—" Mrs. Teresa wiped a tear that started to fall. "Chelsea doesn't really like me, and that's okay. Not everyone has to like us, right? But sometimes she says things that—" "What kind of things?" "Oh, silly things. Says my food is bland, that the house is always dirty when I clean, that my clothes are ugly. They're small things, you know. I don't mind much." Michael felt his blood run cold. "How long has this been going on?" "About 6 months, more or less. After you proposed to her and she started coming over here more often." 6 months. Michael did the math. 6 months during which he had been completely blind, focused only on work and wedding preparations. 6 months during which his mother had been suffering in silence. "Why didn't you tell me?" "You were working so much, son, expanding the company, handling new contracts, and you were so excited about the wedding. How could I come to you and say your fiancé didn't like me? It would seem like I was jealous, that I didn't want to see you happy." "Mom, you have to tell me these things, always." "And what were you going to do, Michael? Fight with your fiancé because of your annoying mother?" "No, son. I've already lived my life. I got married, had you, raised you alone after your father left. Now it's your turn to be happy." "I'll be fine." But looking at that fragile woman in front of him, Michael knew she wasn't fine. She wasn't fine at all. And for the first time in months, he allowed himself to question if he really knew the woman he was about to marry. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. During Monday, Michael tried to focus on work, but he couldn't. He kept replaying in his head the conversation with his mother, the scene at the party, the words from his cousin Lauren. When Chelsea called in the late afternoon, he answered with a heavy heart. "Hi, honey. Have you thought about what we discussed?" "Chelsea, we need to talk in person. Can you come over to my place tonight?" "Of course, but will your mother be there?" The question bothered him. "It's her house, Chelsea. She lives here." "Fine," her voice sounded annoyed. "I'll be there at 8. Michael asked his mother to prepare dinner. He wanted to observe the interaction between the two without his head being full of party worries. Mrs. Teresa hesitated when he made the request. "Son, I think it's better to order takeout. I don't want to—" "Mom, please, make that pasta I love, the one with homemade tomato sauce." She agreed, though she seemed worried. During the afternoon, Michael watched his mother cook. She did everything carefully, tasted the seasoning several times, checked the pasta's doneness. The love she put into that preparation was visible. How could Chelsea say her food had no taste? When Chelsea arrived at 8 sharp, she came through the door without greeting Mrs. Teresa, who was placing the pasta platter on the dining room table. "Hi, honey." She quickly kissed Michael. "Wow, what a strange smell. What is it?" "It's pasta, Chelsea. My mother made it." "Oh." Her tone made the displeasure clear. "I thought we were going to have something more light." They sat at the table. Michael served himself generously and started eating. The pasta was delicious, as always. Chelsea moved the food around with her fork without really eating. "Aren't you going to eat?" asked Michael. "It's just too heavy, honey, and I think it has too much salt," said Chelsea, loud enough for Mrs. Teresa to hear from the kitchen. "I tasted it. It's perfect." "For you, right? You're used to her food." Chelsea set her fork aside. "You know what? Let's order a salad. I'm sure you'll like it more." Michael felt the anger rising. He looked toward the kitchen and saw his mother with her back turned, washing dishes, her shoulders hunched. He was sure she had heard everything. "We're not ordering anything. If you don't want to eat, don't eat. But you don't need to make these comments." Chelsea looked at him surprised. "Wow, so sensitive. It was just an opinion." "An unnecessary opinion that hurts my mother." "Hurts? Michael, for God's sake, since when can't one have an opinion about food? Since when does one give an opinion rudely? He retorted. The mood at the table became tense. Chelsea crossed her arms and fell silent. Michael continued eating, but he could no longer taste the food. After a few minutes, Mrs. Teresa appeared timidly. "I'm going to my room, son. If you need me, just call," she said softly. "Mom, aren't you going to have dinner with us?" "Oh no, I already ate in the kitchen. Make yourselves at home." And she left before he could protest. As soon as they were alone, Chelsea leaned over the table. "You realize she does this on purpose, right?" "Does what?" "This whole poor little me act. Going to eat in the kitchen, speaking softly, putting on this whole little show. It's so you'll feel sorry for her and fight with me." Michael set his fork down on the plate harder than he intended. "Chelsea, my mother isn't putting on any show. She went to eat in the kitchen because you make it clear you don't want her around. I'm not making anything clear. She's the one playing the victim." Chelsea stood up from her chair. "You know what, Michael? I came here so we could talk like adults, but I see you're not ready for this conversation. When you decide what you want from your life, call me." "Chelsea, wait." But she was already grabbing her purse and walking out the door. Michael remained seated there, looking at the plate of pasta that was getting cold. He heard a noise coming from the hallway and saw his mother peeking from the bedroom door. "Did she leave?" asked Mrs. Teresa. "Yes." "It was because of me again, wasn't it?" Michael stood up and went to his mother. He hugged her tightly. "It wasn't your fault, Mom. None of this is your fault. I'm sorry I didn't see it before. I'm sorry I let you go through this alone." Mrs. Teresa began to cry, and Michael realized they were tears of relief, as if finally someone had validated her suffering, recognized that she wasn't exaggerating or making things up. That night, Michael couldn't sleep a wink. He kept turning everything over in his head. The little things he had ignored over the past months were starting to make sense now. The times he came home and found his mother with red eyes, but she said it was allergies. The times Chelsea complained about his mother when they were alone, but he thought it was just normal incompatibility between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. The times his mother left home early when Chelsea was visiting him, saying she had appointments, but he now suspected it was just to avoid confrontations. How had he been so blind? On Tuesday morning, he decided to do something he had never done before. He called Josephine, the housekeeper, who had been working at his house 3 times a week for over 5 years. He asked her to come to his company to talk. Josephine was a robust woman in her early 50s, always smiling and efficient. When she arrived at Michael's office, she looked worried. "Did something happen, Mr. Michael? Is Mrs. Teresa all right?" "Sit here, Mrs. Josephine. I want to talk to you about my mother." He indicated the chair in front of the desk. "And I need you to be completely honest with me, okay?" Josephine sat on the edge of the chair, clearly uncomfortable. "Of course, Mr. Michael. I want you to tell me everything you've seen at home over the past few months, everything related to my mother and Chelsea." Josephine turned pale. Her hands tightened on the handle of her purse. "Mr. Michael, I don't want to cause any trouble." "You won't cause any trouble. Please, Mrs. Josephine, I need to know the truth." The housekeeper took a deep breath and began to speak, first slowly, then the words coming out in bursts as if she had been holding all that in for months. "Mr. Michael, Mrs. Chelsea doesn't treat your mother well. When you're not at home, she talks to Mrs. Teresa as if she were a maid. No, worse than a maid, because she's polite to me. But with your mother, give me examples, Mrs. Josephine. I need details." Last week, Mrs. Teresa was hanging her own clothes on the clothesline. Mrs. Chelsea came and pulled everything off, threw it on the ground, saying your mother's old clothes were taking up space for her clothes. Mrs. Teresa picked everything up from the floor and went to wash them again because they got dirty. She didn't say anything, just took it. Michael felt a lump in his throat. "Go on." "There was a day when Mrs. Teresa made cornbread, the one you love. Mrs. Chelsea came, tasted it, and spat it out, saying it was awful. She threw the whole cornbread in the trash in front of your mother. I saw Mrs. Teresa crying later in the laundry room. My God. And there's more, Mr. Michael." Josephine had teary eyes now. "Mrs. Chelsea keeps complaining about your mother in front of everyone. I've heard her tell her friends on the phone that you have a nosy and annoying mother. What harm can wait to put her in a nursing home?" "In a nursing home?" Michael stood up abruptly from his chair. "She said that?" "She did, Mr. Michael, and not just once. She says that when you get married, she'll convince you to put Mrs. Teresa in a place like that, because she can't stand having her mother-in-law living in the same house anymore." Michael started pacing back and forth in the office. He felt a mix of anger, disappointment, and guilt. How had he let it get to this point? How had he not noticed? "Why did you never tell me this, Mrs. Josephine?" "I tried, Mr. Michael. Twice I tried to bring it up, but you were always so busy, always rushing. And Mrs. Teresa made me promise not to tell you anything. She said she didn't want to interfere with your happiness, that you deserved to be happy." "My mother isn't interfering with anything. She never has." "I know that, Mr. Michael. Everyone who knows Mrs. Teresa knows she's a saint of a person. But Mrs. Chelsea, I'm sorry to say, but that woman has malice in her heart. I see it in her eyes when she looks at your mother. It's pure contempt." Michael sank into his chair, running his hands over his face. He felt exhausted, as if he had aged 10 years in a few days. "Is there anything else I need to know?" Josephine hesitated. "Yes, there is, but it's worse, Mr. Michael, much worse." "Tell me." 2 weeks ago I arrived early for work. There was no one home, not you nor Mrs. Chelsea. I went to look for Mrs. Teresa to ask if she wanted me to clean her little room too. I found her passed out in the hallway. "What do you mean passed out?" Michael stood up again, alarmed. "Why didn't anyone tell me this?" "Mrs. Teresa made me swear to keep it a secret, Mr. Michael. She woke up after a few minutes, said she had felt dizzy because she forgot to have breakfast. But I saw it wasn't just that. She was pale, sweating cold. I wanted to call an ambulance, but she wouldn't let me. She said if I told you, she would fire me." "My mother would never fire you." "I know, Mr. Michael. But she was so desperate, so afraid of causing trouble, that I ended up promising. I regret it so much." Josephine wiped the tears streaming down her face. "Mrs. Teresa isn't well. She cries every day when you leave. She doesn't eat properly, and whenever Mrs. Chelsea is around, she gets tense, nervous, as if she's expecting to be attacked at any moment." Michael sat down again, but this time he couldn't hold back his own tears. His mother, the woman who had raised him alone after his father left when he was just 10 years old, the woman who worked day and night sewing clothes for others to ensure he had an education, the woman who never complained, never asked for anything, always put his happiness first. That woman had been suffering for months inside her own home, and he hadn't seen it. "Thank you for telling me, Mrs. Josephine. You did the right thing. You won't let anything happen to Mrs. Teresa, will you? She doesn't deserve this. She's such a good person. Nothing will happen to my mother. I'll take care of this. Don't worry." After Josephine left, Michael sat in his office for almost an hour, just thinking. He picked up his phone and looked at the messages Chelsea had sent during the morning. They were affectionate messages, as if the argument from the night before hadn't happened, as if throwing water on his mother was no big deal, as if the last 6 months of cruelty were just made up. He needed to see it with his own eyes. He needed to be absolutely sure before making any drastic decisions. He picked up the phone and called a friend who worked with security system installation. "Robert, I need an urgent favor. Can you install discrete cameras in my house today? It's a family emergency." At 6 in the evening, the house was equipped with 4 small discrete cameras, one in the living room, one in the kitchen, one in the hallway, and one in the garden, all connected to Michael's cell phone, who could now see everything happening at home in real time. "Everything's ready," said Robert, putting away the tools. "But can I ask why you're doing this? Do you think someone's stealing?" "It's complicated, Robert, but thank you for coming so quickly." That night, Michael made up an excuse and told Chelsea that he needed to go on a business trip the next day. He would only return on Thursday. It was a lie. He was going to a nearby hotel and would be monitoring the cameras, observing what really happened at home when he wasn't there. On Wednesday morning, he left early, making noise, making sure both his mother and Chelsea, who had slept over, knew he was leaving. But instead of going to the airport, he went to a hotel 15 minutes from home. He booked a room, connected his laptop and cell phone, and waited. At 9 in the morning, he saw through the living room camera Chelsea coming down the stairs already dressed to go out. Mrs. Teresa was in the kitchen preparing coffee. Chelsea entered the kitchen, and Michael turned up the volume on his laptop. "Good morning," said Mrs. Teresa with a timid smile. Chelsea didn't even respond. She took a cup, poured coffee, and sat at the table scrolling through her phone. Mrs. Teresa started making scrambled eggs. The silence was awkward. "I made some eggs," offered Mrs. Teresa. "Would you like some?" "Do you think I eat that crap?" replied Chelsea without looking up from her phone. "How many times do I have to say I don't like your cooking?" Michael saw his mother shrink back, turning back to the stove. She didn't say anything. "And another thing," continued Chelsea, "stop coming into the living room when I'm watching TV. It's annoying hearing you breathe near me." "But honey, Michael isn't here," said Mrs. Teresa softly. "You don't have to pretend anymore." "Pretend what exactly?" "That you treat me well. Don't worry, he's already left." Chelsea let out a dry laugh. "Oh, so you noticed I'm only polite to you when he's around? How clever. I thought you were dumber." Michael felt his blood boil. His hands trembled as he held the laptop. He was recording everything. "Why do you hate me so much?" asked Mrs. Teresa, still with her back to Chelsea. "I never did anything to you." "You exist? That's enough." Chelsea stood up and dumped the rest of her coffee in the sink. "And when I marry your son, the first thing I'll do is put you in a nursing home far away from here. It'll be a cheap one, you know, the kind the government pays for, because you don't deserve anything better." Mrs. Teresa turned around, tears in her eyes. "Michael would never let you do that." "Michael does what I tell him." Chelsea grabbed her purse. "Haven't you figured it out yet? He's completely in love with me. If I ask, he'll throw you out on the street today. So I suggest you stay quiet in your corner, behave, and maybe I'll let you stay a few more months here before I put you away." And with that, she walked out the door, leaving Mrs. Teresa alone in the kitchen, crying silently as she leaned on the sink. Michael saw his mother collapse, her knees giving way, her whole body shaking with sobs she tried to muffle. He closed the laptop. He didn't need to see any more. He had seen enough. His decision was made. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out, now continuing. Michael spent the rest of Wednesday at the hotel, working out a plan. He didn't want to act on impulse. He didn't want to do anything he might regret later. But he also couldn't pretend he didn't know anything anymore. His mother was suffering too much, and it was his fault because of his blindness. He called his cousin Lauren and told her everything, showed her the footage from the cameras. Lauren was shocked but not surprised. "I knew something was wrong, cousin. Women can sense these things, but I never imagined it was this bad. I don't know what to do, Lou. I love Chelsea, or at least I thought I did. But after seeing this, how can I marry someone who treats my mother this way?" "You can't. And it's not just about how she treats Aunt Teresa. It's about her character, Michael. A person who's capable of being so cruel to a defenseless elderly woman, what else might she be capable of? Today it's your mother. Tomorrow it could be you. Later, your children." Lauren's words hit him like a punch. She was right. If Chelsea was capable of all that, what kind of wife would she be? What kind of mother? "I need to break up with her." "Yes, you do, but you need to do it right, cousin. This woman seems like the type who won't take no for an answer easily." "What do you mean?" "Think about it. She's about to marry a millionaire businessman. She'll have a comfortable life without needing to work. Do you think she'll let that go so easily?" Michael hadn't thought about it from that angle. Chelsea worked as a marketing manager at a medium-sized company, but she always complained about the salary, the hours, the stress. Several times, she had commented that she couldn't wait to quit her job after they got married. "So what do I do?" "Test her, but first protect Aunt Teresa. Get her out of the house for a few days. Have her come stay here with me. Say it's to help with the wedding preparations or any excuse. Then you confront Chelsea alone." Michael agreed with the plan. He called his mother and said that Lauren needed help with her young children since the nanny had quit. Mrs. Teresa was happy to help and agreed immediately. On Wednesday evening, Michael returned home and helped his mother pack a small bag. "How long will I be staying there, son?" "A few days, Mom. Until Lauren sorts out the nanny situation. It'll be good for you too, spending time with family." In reality, it was good for his mother to be away from Chelsea. Away from the stress, away from the humiliations. Michael took her to Lauren's house and returned home with a heavy heart. Now it was time for the confrontation. He called Chelsea and asked her to come over for dinner, said they had important things to discuss about the wedding. She arrived at 8, all dressed up, perfumed, smiling. "Hi, honey. I missed you these past few days." She kissed him intensely. "Where's your mother?" "She went to help my cousin with the kids. She'll be staying there a few days." Chelsea's eyes lit up. "So we're alone, how wonderful. Finally we'll have peace and quiet in this house." Michael didn't respond. He poured wine for both of them, and they sat on the living room sofa. He took a deep breath. "Chelsea, we need to have a serious talk about our wedding." "Of course, honey. What do you want to talk about?" She was excited, imagining it was about the final details of the ceremony. "It's about my mother." Chelsea's smile faltered. "That topic again?" "Yes, again, and for the last time." Michael picked up his phone and opened the camera app. "I want you to see something." He showed her the video from Wednesday morning, the scene where she was humiliating his mother in the kitchen, threatening to put her in a cheap nursing home, saying Mrs. Teresa didn't deserve anything better. Chelsea watched, her face growing paler and paler. "You recorded me," was the first thing she said when the video ended. "I installed security cameras in my house, and I recorded you showing who you really are." "Michael, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you're a cruel person who threatens to put my mother in a cheap nursing home, that you humiliate her every day. Who pretends to be polite when I'm around, but shows your true face when we're alone. I was nervous. I had argued with my boss at work and took it out on your mother. It was a bad day, Michael. Everyone has bad days. Josephine told me this has been happening for months, and I have videos from other days too. It wasn't a bad day. It's who you really are." Chelsea got up from the couch, pacing back and forth. Michael could see her mind working, trying to find a way out. "Okay, maybe I overdid it a few times. Your mother isn't exactly a saint either, you know. She's annoying, nosy." "My mother is nothing like that." "Yes, she is. She's always judging me, looking at me with that disapproving stare. You don't see it because you're her son, but I do. My mother looks at you with fear, Chelsea. Fear of what you'll do to her next. Fear of being humiliated again." Chelsea stopped pacing and stared at him. Her face was red. "So that's it? You're going to choose your mother over me?" "It's not a choice, Chelsea. It should never have been a choice. But yes, I won't marry someone who treats my mother like this. Our engagement is cancelled." "You can't do this." "I can and I am. I want you to take your things from this house and leave. Tomorrow I'll go to the jewelry store to return the rings. I'll call the caterer, the venue, the church. I'll cancel everything." "Michael, you're being irrational." Chelsea approached him, trying to take his hands. "Look, I admit I was wrong. I promise I'll change. I'll treat your mother better, I swear. We can do couples therapy. I can do individual therapy, whatever you want. But don't cancel our wedding." "Chelsea, I saw you pouring ice water on my mother during the engagement party, in front of everyone. I saw you humiliate her in the kitchen. I heard you say you'll put her in a nursing home. How do you think I can trust that you'll change?" "Because I love you," shouted Chelsea with tears in her eyes. "I really love you, Michael. Please don't do this. We'll work it out, I promise." For the first time in days, Michael looked straight into Chelsea's eyes. That woman he thought he loved, who he thought would be his life partner, and he realized something he should have noticed a long time ago. She didn't love him. Not really. She loved the idea of him. She loved the comfort he provided. She loved the status of being a successful businessman's wife. But she didn't love the man he was, the dedicated son, the person who had values and principles. "Leave, Chelsea, please. If you send me away now, there's no going back," she threatened, wiping her tears. "There won't be a second chance." "I know. And that's fine." Chelsea stared at him for a few more seconds, as if still hoping he would change his mind. When she realized he wouldn't, her face transformed. The mask completely fell off. The eyes that were once full of tears now shone with pure anger. "You'll regret this," she said with an icy voice. "You know what I think. I think you have an Oedipus complex. It's pathetic. A man almost 40 who can't let go of his mother's skirt. You can insult me all you want. It doesn't change anything. And you know what else?" Chelsea grabbed her purse violently. "I never really loved you. I was with you for the money, for the comfort. But I thought you were at least a man, not a big baby who needs his mommy around to feel safe." "Fine, thanks for the honesty. You're pathetic, Michael. Pathetic and weak. And your mother? That ridiculous old woman will end up alone in a nursing home anyway, because one day you'll get tired of her too. One day you'll meet another woman, and that woman won't be able to stand having a mother-in-law hanging around either." Michael opened the front door. "You can leave now." Chelsea passed by him but stopped at the door. "One last thing. Everyone will know that you dumped me. I'm going to tell everyone that you have serious issues, that you're controlled by your mother, that you have a sick relationship with her. I'll destroy your reputation. Do whatever you want. I have the videos. If you start spreading lies about me or my mother, I'll show these videos to whoever needs to see them. So think carefully before doing anything." Chelsea slammed the door hard as she left. Michael locked it and leaned against it, closing his eyes. Part of him still couldn't believe he had actually called off the engagement. Part of him still thought he had made a mistake, that he should have given her another chance. But the rational part, the part that had seen his mother suffering, that part knew he had done the right thing. He picked up his phone and called Lauren. "Hey, cuz. How did it go?" "I broke up with her. How are you feeling?" "Confused, sad, angry, relieved, all at the same time." "That's normal. You're doing the right thing." "Am I? I was about to marry her, Lou. How could I have been so wrong about who she was?" "Because she was very good at hiding. People like that are experts at manipulation, at showing only what they want others to see. Don't blame yourself for that." "How's my mom?" "She's here, helping bathe the kids. She's even more cheerful, you know. I think being away from that woman did her good. Don't tell her anything yet, okay? I want to tell her in person. Don't worry." That night, Michael couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the last 2 years, about all the signs he had ignored, about all the times he had put his relationship with Chelsea above his relationship with his mother. He thought about how easy it had been for him to believe the problem was incompatibility between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, instead of seeing that the problem was his fiancée's cruel character. On Thursday morning, he started making the calls. First the caterer, then the venue, then the florist, the church, the photographer. It was embarrassing having to repeatedly explain that the wedding was cancelled. Some vendors were upset because he wouldn't get back all the deposit money. But Michael didn't care about money at that moment. He only cared about resolving it as quickly as possible. He also called his closest relatives, informing them of the cancellation. Most reacted with surprise, but his Uncle Jack, his mother's brother, had a different reaction. "Thank God, my nephew, thank God. Your aunt and I were very worried about this wedding." "Worried? Why?" "That young lady didn't have a good look in her eyes, Michael, and the way she treated your mother at the engagement party was unacceptable. Unacceptable. I was relieved when you called." How many people had seen signs that he ignored? How many people had tried to warn him, but he was too blind to see? On Thursday evening, he went to pick up his mother from Lauren's house. Mrs. Teresa was in the living room, playing with her grandnieces and grandnephews, smiling in a way Michael hadn't seen in months. When she saw him come in, her face lit up. "Son, I missed you. Was everything okay without me at home?" Michael hugged his mother tightly. "It wasn't okay at all. I missed you so much." In the car on the way back home, Mrs. Teresa was excited, telling him about the days she spent with Lauren and the children. Michael listened to her, feeling his heart tighten. How could this sweet and kind woman have been treated with such cruelty? When they got home, Michael made tea for both of them, and they sat on the porch. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. "Mom, I need to tell you something." Mrs. Teresa looked at him worriedly. "Did something happen, son?" "I cancelled my wedding with Chelsea." The teacup almost fell from Mrs. Teresa's hand. "What do you mean? Why?" "Because I found out how she really treated you. I saw it with my own eyes. I installed security cameras here at home and recorded everything." Mrs. Teresa turned pale. "Son, you didn't have to do that. Not because of me." "Yes, you did, Mom. And it wasn't just for you. It was for me, too. I can't marry someone capable of being so cruel to the person I love most in the world. But you were so happy with her. I was happy with an illusion, with a person who didn't exist. The real Chelsea is the one you knew, the one who humiliated you, threatened you, made you cry. And I'm sorry, Mum. I'm sorry for not believing you sooner, for taking so long to see what was happening." Mrs. Teresa began to cry, but this time they were tears of relief mixed with sadness. "You don't need to apologize, son. I should have told you earlier, but I was so afraid of ruining your happiness." "Mom, you don't ruin my happiness. You never have. You are part of my happiness. And anyone who doesn't understand that, who doesn't respect and love you, doesn't deserve to be in my life." Mother and son hugged there on the porch as the sun finished setting. It was a painful but necessary new beginning. Michael knew the coming months wouldn't be easy. He would have to deal with the comments, the gossip, Chelsea's possible revenge. But for the first time in a long while, he felt he was doing the right thing. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out now continuing. The following weeks were turbulent. As Chelsea had threatened, she began spreading stories about Michael. She told anyone who would listen that he had emotional problems, that he was controlled by his mother, that he had strange behavior. Some casual acquaintances believed her, but most people who really knew Michael didn't pay attention. What Chelsea didn't expect was that Michael wasn't alone. Lauren, outraged by the lies, began telling people what had really happened. Josephine, the housekeeper, who was always well-liked in the neighborhood, didn't stay quiet either. When someone came with gossip about Michael, she told the truth about how Chelsea treated Mrs. Teresa. One afternoon, about 3 weeks after the breakup, Michael received an unexpected visit at his office. It was Faith, Chelsea's cousin, a woman about 45 years old whom he had briefly met at a birthday party. "Can I talk to you?" she asked, looking nervous. "Of course, come in." Faith sat down and took a deep breath before speaking. "I came here because I can't stay silent any longer. You need to know something about Chelsea. Go ahead. She's done this before, the same pattern of behavior. She had a previous boyfriend, Richard. He was a rich guy too, much older than her. His mother lived with them. Chelsea did exactly the same thing she did to your mother." Michael leaned forward in his chair. "Tell me more." "She humiliated the lady, treated her badly, did everything to make her life hell. Only in Richard's case it took longer. They had been married for 2 years when his mother couldn't take it anymore and went to live with her daughter. Their marriage ended shortly after." "Why?" "Because when Richard saw how much better his mother was away from Chelsea, he realized what had happened. He started investigating and discovered that Chelsea was capable of being extremely cruel to anyone she considered an obstacle. And why are you telling me this now?" "Because I warned Richard back then. I tried to alert him before the wedding, but he didn't believe me. He thought it was jealousy, that I wanted to destroy his happiness. When the marriage ended, he came to me, apologized, said he should have listened. I don't want the same thing to happen to you." "But I've already broken up with her." "I know, but she won't give up easily. I know my cousin. She's manipulative, persistent. She'll try everything to win you back. She'll cry. She'll promise to change. She'll make a scene. She might even make up that she's pregnant, which wouldn't be the first time." Michael widened his eyes. "What do you mean it wouldn't be the first time?" "She did that with a boyfriend before Richard, said she was pregnant so he wouldn't break up with her. Turned out it was a lie. He only found out when he made her take a blood test." "My God." "Look, I'm not telling you this to talk badly about her because she's my cousin. I'm telling you because I saw you with your mother once at the market. I saw how you treated her with affection, with respect, and I thought you were different from Richard, that you didn't deserve to go through what he went through. Thank you for coming here, Faith. Really. Just one more thing. If Chelsea comes with a pregnancy story, demand a blood test. Don't accept a drugstore test, because she knows how to manipulate those tests. Demand a lab test with you present. After Faith left, Michael kept thinking, could Chelsea really be capable of making up a pregnancy? Apparently, yes, she had done it before. He decided he needed to be prepared for any possibility. And Faith was right. 2 weeks later, Chelsea showed up at his house unannounced. It was a Friday night. Mrs. Teresa had already gone to bed early. She was slowly recovering from the stress of the last few months. When Michael opened the door and saw Chelsea there, his first instinct was to close it again. "Wait!" She put her hand on the door. "Please, just let me speak 5 minutes." "I have nothing to talk to you about." "Michael, I'm pregnant." The words hit him like a bucket of cold water. He opened the door completely. "What do you mean, pregnant?" 2 months. It's your child, Michael, our child." She took a drugstore test showing a positive result out of her bag. Michael looked at the test, then at her. "I need a blood test." "What? You don't trust me?" "No, I don't. I want a lab blood test and I'm coming along." "Michael, that's an insult. I'm telling you I'm pregnant with your child and either you take the test or I'll consider it a lie and you leave right now. Choose." Chelsea stared at him. Michael could see the calculations running through her head. Finally, she sighed. "Fine, we'll do the test. Tomorrow morning." On Saturday, Michael took Chelsea to a lab. He stayed by her side the whole time, from the collection until the test was ready. The result came out in 2 hours. Negative. Michael looked at the paper, then at Chelsea. "Do you want to explain?" I thought I was pregnant. The drugstore test was positive." "Either you manipulated the test or you're lying. Either way, it's over. I don't want you near me ever again. I'll get a restraining order if you keep showing up." "Michael, please." But he was already walking away, leaving her at the lab. In the car, his hands trembled on the steering wheel. Faith was right. Chelsea had tried to manipulate him with a fake pregnancy. What kind of person does that? When he got home, he found his mother in the kitchen making a cake. She had started cooking again, something she had stopped doing in the last few months. The house had that cozy smell of homemade food again. "Son, are you okay? You look worried." Michael told her about Chelsea's visit, about the fake pregnancy, about the test. Mrs. Teresa shook her head, sad. "What a troubled young woman, my God. Thank God you found out who she was before marrying. I still think I could have found out sooner, before you suffered so much." "Son, stop blaming yourself. The important thing is that we're okay now. We're together, at peace. That's what matters." And she was right. Little by little, life was returning to normal. Mrs. Teresa moved back to her old room. Michael had the entire room renovated just the way she liked it, with floral curtains, soft-toned wallpaper, and the antique dresser that had belonged to her grandmother. He personally helped dismantle Chelsea's closet and donated all the clothes she had left behind. The house became a home again. On weekends, Michael started spending more time at home, enjoying cooking with his mother, watching the old movies she loved, and talking about things they hadn't discussed in months. He discovered or rediscovered how interesting, strong, and resilient that woman was. Mrs. Teresa began taking better care of herself too. She went to the doctor, adjusted her medications, and started taking morning walks. She returned to the church's crafts group, something she had stopped doing because Chelsea always complained that she came back too late. Gradually, the vibrant woman Michael knew began to reappear. 3 months after the breakup, on a Sunday afternoon, they were both in the garden planting some herb seedlings when the gate bell rang. It was a woman about 35 years old, with brown hair tied in a ponytail, wearing a simple blouse and jeans. "Good afternoon. Are you the residents of this house?" "Yes, we are," replied Michael, standing up and brushing the dirt off his hands. "Can I help you?" "My name is Hannah. I'm the coordinator of the neighborhood church's social project. We're setting up a sewing workshop to teach underprivileged youth, and we'd like volunteers." Mrs. Linda from the church told me that a lady who used to sew beautifully lives here and might be able to help us. Mrs. Teresa, who was kneeling, tending to the seedlings, stood up as well. Mrs. Linda talked about me. She did. She said you were the best seamstress in the area, that you made beautiful clothes. We really need someone with experience to teach the young people. But I'm already 72, miss. I'm not sure I still have the skill for that. Age doesn't matter, Mrs. Sorry, I didn't catch your name. Teresa. My name is Teresa. Mrs. Teresa, what matters is the knowledge. And Mrs. Linda said you raised your son alone by sewing for others. That's exactly the kind of experience we want to pass on to the youth, that it's possible to have a dignified profession and earn your own money honestly. Michael saw his mother's eyes light up. It had been years since she used that talent. Ever since he had achieved financial stability, Mrs. Teresa had retired her sewing machine. Mum, I think you should accept, he encouraged her. Do you think so, son? I do. You've always been an amazing seamstress. It would be a waste not to share that. Mrs. Teresa looked at Hannah, then at her son, and finally smiled. Then I accept. When do we start? Can it be next Monday? At 2 in the afternoon? Yes, it can. After Hannah left, Michael hugged his mother. See? Good things are happening. You deserve this. Do you think I can handle it, son? It's been so long since I've sewn anything serious. Mum, sewing is like riding a bike. You never forget. And it'll be good for you to have an activity, meet new people, feel useful. On Monday, Michael made sure to take his mother to the workshop, which was located at the back of the church. The space was simple but organized, with several sewing machines arranged in rows, cutting tables and shelves with fabrics and threads. There were about 15 young people, mostly teenagers, waiting eagerly. Everyone, this is Mrs. Teresa, Hannah introduced. She's going to teach you how to sew. During the first few classes, Michael would come to pick up his mother and noticed how she always left excited, talking about the young people, what they had learned and the projects they were developing. It was as if she had been reborn. One day, 4 months after she started at the workshop, Mrs. Teresa came home especially happy. Son, something beautiful happened today. What was it, Mom? Jessica, that girl I told you about who was kicked out by her family, remember? She just finished making her first dress all by herself. She cried, son. She cried with emotion because she had finally managed to make something with her own hands. She said she now had hope of getting a job, of changing her life. Michael Anderson hugged his mother, feeling his heart warm. This was so different from the last few months with Chelsea, so much more meaningful than any fancy party or expensive dinner he had provided for his ex-fiancée. You're making a difference in these people's lives, Mom. You know what I realized, son? I spent so much time feeling useless, thinking I was a burden to you, that I was good for nothing. Chelsea made me believe that, but it's not true. I have value. I have knowledge, I have experience, I have love to give, and these young people remind me of that every day. It was at that moment that Michael understood the full extent of the damage Chelsea had caused. It wasn't just about the humiliations, the insults, the threats. It was about how she had managed to make a strong and independent woman doubt her own worth, and seeing his mother regaining her self-esteem, her joy, her sense of purpose, was the greatest victory he could have. The months passed and life went on. The scandal of the cancelled wedding became old news. People stopped commenting, stopped speculating. Michael focused on expanding his company, but now with a better work-life balance. He always set aside weekends to be with his mother, and every Wednesday they had dinner together without exception. Mrs. Teresa continued at the studio and the project grew. They secured donations of more sewing machines, more fabrics. The young people who graduated from the course started getting jobs in clothing factories. Some even opened small businesses of their own. The church organized an exhibition of the work, and Michael went with immense pride in his heart to see the pieces his mother's students had produced. It was at this exhibition that he got to know Hannah better. She was organizing everything, talking to each young person, arranging the pieces. Michael watched her for a while. There was something about her that caught his attention. It wasn't just her natural beauty, but the way she treated people, her patience, her genuine dedication to the social project. "Your mother is a blessing," said Hannah, when she noticed Michael watching her. "The young people love her. They say it's like having a grandmother who really cares about them. She's very happy with the project. I think she found a purpose." "And you? What makes you happy?" The question took him by surprise. When was the last time someone genuinely asked what made him happy? "Work, family. The normal things, I guess." "You don't sound very convinced," Hannah smiled. "But it's okay. You don't have to answer. Sometimes we're still figuring it out." In the following days, Michael found himself thinking about that conversation, thinking about Hannah, the way her eyes sparkled when she talked about the social project, her sincere laugh. They were small details, but they made him feel something he hadn't felt in a long time. He started showing up more at the studio, always with some excuse. He brought fabric donations, offered help with the financial part of the project, fixed a broken chair. Mrs. Teresa noticed everything and smiled discreetly, but said nothing. It was on a rainy July afternoon, 6 months after meeting Hannah, that Michael finally mustered his courage. She was alone in the studio, organizing the materials after a class had ended. "Need any help?" he offered. "I always need help," replied Hannah. "Can you put those fabrics on that shelf over there?" They worked together in silence for a few minutes. Michael searched for the right words, but nothing seemed adequate. "Can I ask you a question?" he finally said. "Sure." Would you like to have dinner with me sometime?" Hannah stopped what she was doing and looked at him. "Like a date?" "Like a date." She stayed silent for a moment that felt like an eternity. "Michael, I know your history with your ex-fiancée," Mrs. Teresa told me. "And I think what you did, defending your mother like that, is really beautiful. But I need you to know that I come as a complete package. I'm divorced. I have an 8-year-old daughter. I don't have much money. I'm not from your world. Hannah, if there's one thing I've learned in this past year, it's that what matters isn't money. It's not status. None of that. What matters is a person's character. And I see how you treat the young people in this project, how you're dedicated to making a difference in their lives. That's worth more than anything." "And your mother? What does she think?" "My mother has told me 3 times that you'd be perfect for me." Michael laughed. "She's not very subtle." Hannah smiled too. "Then I accept. Let's have dinner." Their first date was at a simple neighborhood restaurant. No fancy or expensive places. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. Hannah talked about her previous marriage, how she found out her ex-husband had another family, how she raised her daughter alone working as an art teacher in public schools. Michael talked about the company, how he started small and grew little by little, about the nightmare that was his relationship with Chelsea. "Are you afraid of getting involved again?" asked Hannah. "I am. Very. But I also don't want to let fear stop me from meeting good people. I understand I have my fears too. Fear of getting hurt, of hurting my daughter, of trusting the wrong person again. Then let's take it slow. No rush, no pressure. Let's get to know each other better and see where it goes." And that's how it began. Slowly, carefully, but sincerely. Michael met Lily, Hannah's daughter, a smart and talkative girl who loved finding out he worked in food distribution because she loved going to the supermarket. When Michael introduced Hannah to Mrs. Teresa, officially as his girlfriend, 3 months after that first date, his mother hugged Hannah tightly. "Thank you," murmured Mrs. Teresa. "Thank you for making my son truly smile again." "Mrs. Teresa, I'm the one who should thank you. If it weren't for the Atelier project, I never would have met him. Life went on its course now at a healthier, more balanced pace. Michael learned to value the simple things. Sunday afternoons baking cake with his mother and Hannah. The Fridays when Lily slept over at his house and they had movie marathons. The Saturday mornings when he and Mrs. Teresa walked together in the square. 1 year after meeting Hannah, Michael proposed to her. It was something simple at home with only Mrs. Teresa and Lily present. No extravagant party, no excessive spending, just the essentials, a sincere proposal, a ring that had belonged to Michael's grandmother, and tears of joy. When Hannah said yes, Mrs. Teresa applauded, moved. Lily jumped for joy. And Michael felt, for the first time in a long time, that he was exactly where he was supposed to be, with the right people by his side. The wedding was scheduled for 3 months later. It would be a small ceremony at the neighborhood church, followed by a lunch at the parish hall. No excessive luxury. Mrs. Teresa insisted on making her own dress, and also Hannah's. She spent weeks sewing carefully, putting love into every stitch, every detail. "Mom, you don't have to do this. We can buy the dresses." "Son, I want to do it. It's my wedding gift to you. And besides, it's not every day that a mother gets to make her son's wedding dress." Mrs. Teresa's excitement was contagious. She was radiant, full of energy, completely different from the fragile and scared woman of a year and a half ago. The studio continued to grow. She had formed several classes, and now she was even teaching advanced embroidery to some of the more dedicated students. The weeks went by, and the wedding preparations were going smoothly. No stress, no arguments over insignificant details. Hannah was practical and objective, and that fit perfectly with Michael. Until, 2 weeks before the wedding, something unexpected happened. Michael was in the office when he received a call from an unknown number. He answered without thinking too much. "Hello? Michael, it's me. Chelsea." He tensed up immediately. It had been almost a year since he had heard from her. After the fake pregnancy story, Chelsea had completely disappeared. Michael heard from others that she had moved to another city. "What do you want?" "I need to talk to you in person. It's important." "I have nothing to say to you." "Michael, please. I've changed. I've been in therapy. I'm working on myself. I just want to apologize to you in person. That's all I ask. A 30-minute conversation." He hesitated. Part of him wanted to hang up right away. But another part, maybe out of curiosity, maybe wanting to finally have a definitive closure, ended up agreeing. "All right. I'll meet you at the coffee shop near my office tomorrow at noon, but I'm making it clear that I don't want any kind of drama." "No drama, I promise." The next morning, Michael told Hannah and his mother about the meeting. Both were worried. "Are you sure you want to do this, son? What if she's up to something?" "She won't be up to anything, Mum. I'll meet her in a public place, I'll hear what she has to say, and I'll leave. That's all." "I want to go with you," said Hannah. "You don't need to, love. Everything will be fine." But Hannah insisted, and Michael ended up agreeing. At noon, the two of them were sitting at a table in the coffee shop when Chelsea walked in. Michael almost didn't recognize her. She was much thinner, her hair was shorter, and she wore no makeup. She looked tired, aged. Chelsea stopped when she saw Hannah next to Michael. For a second, her face twisted into an expression of anger, but she quickly controlled herself. "Hi, Michael," she greeted, sitting down. "You brought company. This is Hannah, my fiancée. We're getting married in 2 weeks." "I see." Chelsea looked at Hannah with an expression Michael couldn't decipher. "Nice to meet you, Hannah." "The pleasure is mine," Hannah replied politely but firmly. There was an awkward silence. Finally, Chelsea sighed. "Well, I asked to come here because I wanted to apologize for what I did. To you, to your mother. It was awful. I was awful." Michael said nothing, just waited for her to continue. "I spent this past year in therapy. I found out I have some issues, childhood traumas, unresolved issues with my own mother. It's no excuse for what I did, I know, but it's an explanation. Okay, you came here to apologize. Apology accepted. Anything else? I also wanted to say that I understand why you did what you did. Breaking up with me, it was the only option, and I wanted to thank you, in a way, because what you did forced me to look at myself, to seek help. I'm glad you're seeking help. And I wanted to apologize to your mother, too. I know she's not here, but if you could pass that on to her. Tell her I'm sorry. Truly. She didn't deserve any of what I did." Michael nodded. "I'll pass it on." Chelsea looked at Hannah again. "You're lucky. He's a good man. Take care of him. And his mother, she's special." "I know that," Hannah replied. "And you can be sure I'll take good care of both of them." Chelsea stood up. "Well, that's it. I won't take up any more of your time. Michael, I wish you happiness. Truly, you deserve it." And with that, she left the coffee shop, leaving Michael and Hannah alone. Michael was looking out the window, watching Chelsea get into the car and drive away. "How are you feeling?" asked Hannah. "Relieved, actually. I think that's what I needed. A sincere apology, a definite closure. Now I can move forward without a weight on my conscience." "Do you think she really changed?" "I don't know. I hope so. But she's no longer my responsibility. My responsibility now is to you, to Lily, to my mother, to our family." Hannah took his hand on the table. "Our family. I like the sound of that." When he got home that afternoon, Michael told everything to Mrs. Teresa. She listened in silence and, when he finished, sighed. "I'm glad she's seeking help. No one deserves to live with so much hatred inside. But I'm even happier that you've moved on, son, that you've found someone who is good for you, who makes you happy." "Me too, Mom. And you know the best part. I know Hannah will always respect you, that she values you as much as I do, that our home will continue to be a real home." "Son, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "Back then with Chelsea on the worst days, I thought about leaving, about asking to go live with your Uncle Jack just so I wouldn't be a burden to you anymore. But now, looking back, I see that all of that happened for a reason. For you to realize what really matters, for you to find someone real, and for me to rediscover that I still had value, that I could still make a difference in the world. Mom, you always had value. You always made a difference. I'm sorry I made you doubt that. No more apologies, son. It's in the past. Now let's focus on the future. On your wedding, on Lily becoming part of the family, on all the good things that are yet to happen." And the good things really did happen. The wedding was beautiful, simple but moving. Mrs. Teresa cried when she saw Michael and Hannah exchanging rings. Lily was the little flower girl and took her role very seriously, scattering rose petals with the utmost seriousness. The lunch was relaxed, with homemade food made by some ladies from the church, including Mrs. Teresa, who had made her famous chicken pie. During the party, Michael looked around. He saw his mother talking animatedly with Uncle Jack, telling him about the studio. He saw Lily playing with the other children, completely at ease. He saw Hannah laughing at a joke that Lauren had told, and he felt immense gratitude for everything he had been through, because it had led him there. "What are you thinking about?" asked Hannah, approaching. "I'm thinking that I'm a lucky man. Very lucky." "I feel lucky too," she hugged her husband, "for having found you, for being accepted by Mrs. Teresa, for gaining a real family." "And Lily, how is she?" "Radiant. She keeps telling everyone that she now has a father and a grandmother. Did you know she calls you Dad when you're not around?" Michael felt his eyes well up. "Really? Really? And she calls your mom Grandma? I hope you don't mind." "Mind?" "I'm touched. I always wanted to be a father. I just didn't know I would be to a girl as special as Lily." That night, when the party was over and everyone had left, Michael, Hannah, Lily, and Mrs. Teresa stayed behind, helping to clean up the hall. It was a domestic, simple scene, but it warmed Michael's heart. That was family. That was what really mattered. In the following months, they adapted to the new routine. Hannah and Lily moved into Michael's house. The guest room was turned into Lily's room, decorated with everything she liked, full of color and life. Mrs. Teresa helped Hannah with the girl, picked her up from school when necessary, helped with homework. Michael's company continued to grow, but now he had a better balance. He no longer worked late every day. He arrived home in time to have dinner with the family, to put Lily to sleep, to talk with Hannah about their day. The atelier was also thriving. Mrs. Teresa had trained other volunteers to help her, and now they offered not only sewing classes, but also crafts, basic cooking, and even computer skills. The project had gained prominence in the community and received important donations. Exactly 1 year after the wedding, Michael and Hannah decided to expand their family further. Hannah got pregnant, and when they told Mrs. Teresa, the lady cried with emotion. "I'm going to be a grandmother again. My God, what a blessing." "This time for real, Mom," Michael joked. "A blood baby." "Son, Lily is already my granddaughter in my heart. But yes, I'm very happy to have another grandchild on the way. During Hannah's pregnancy, Mrs. Teresa was tireless. She made a complete layette for the baby, all the little clothes hand-sewn with delicate details. She prepared special meals for Hannah, made sure she was getting enough rest, and accompanied her to medical appointments. "Mrs. Teresa, you treat me as if I were your own daughter," Hannah said one day, moved. "That's because you are, my dear. You are the daughter I never had, and it's a blessing to have you in the family." When the baby was born, a boy they named Peter, Mrs. Teresa was there at the hospital. She was one of the first people to hold him. Michael had never seen his mother so happy, so fulfilled. "He's perfect," murmured Mrs. Teresa, rocking her grandson in her arms. "Just like you when you were born, son." Life went on full and happy. The house was always busy, always noisy. Lily now 9 years old, Peter growing up, Hannah dedicating herself to social projects, Michael managing the company but always present, and Mrs. Teresa, the heart of the family, keeping everything together with her love and wisdom. Sometimes, late at night, when everyone was already asleep, Michael would sit on the porch and think about everything that had happened. He thought about Chelsea, about how that toxic relationship almost prevented him from seeing what truly mattered. He thought about his mother's suffering, about how he almost lost her because of his blindness, and he thought about how sometimes the worst experiences in life can lead to the greatest lessons. 2 years after Peter's birth, Michael received an unexpected invitation. It was from Chelsea's company, inviting him to give a talk on business values and social responsibility. He was surprised to see that Chelsea now worked for an NGO that helped women with mental health issues. He decided to go, curious to see how she was doing. The talk was in a small auditorium. When he arrived, Chelsea was on stage, speaking about her personal experience, about how she had treated important people terribly because of unresolved trauma, about how therapy had changed her life. "I was a cruel person," she said with teary eyes. "I hurt those close to me, especially older people, because I had unresolved issues with my own mother. I lost the man I loved. I lost friends. I lost myself. But with help I managed to change, and today I dedicate my life to helping other women not to follow the same path." After the talk, Michael went to greet her. Chelsea was surprised to see him. "Michael, I didn't expect to see you here. I came out of curiosity, and I was impressed. You've really changed." "I have. It wasn't easy, but I changed. And I thank you for giving me the push I needed. If you hadn't broken up with me, I would never have sought help." "I'm happy for you, Chelsea. Truly." "How is your mother?" "Great. Radiant. She's a grandmother now to 2 grandchildren, and she continues with the Atelier project, teaching young people to sew. I'm happy for her, and for you. You deserve to be happy." Michael left with a sense of peace. That chapter of his life was finally, completely closed, without bitterness, without regrets. Just the certainty that everything had happened as it should. When he got home that night, he found the most beautiful scene he could imagine. Mrs. Teresa was on the living room floor, playing with building blocks with Peter. Lily was on the couch, reading a book to Hannah, who was breastfeeding the newest baby born 3 months earlier, a girl they named Alice. "Daddy!" Peter shouted when he saw him, running into his arms. "Hey, champ!" Michael lifted him into the air. "How was your day?" "Grandma taught me how to sew a button," said Peter proudly, showing a scrap of cloth with a crooked button sewn on. "It looks beautiful, son. You're becoming a seamstress just like Grandma." "I want to learn too," said Lily, putting down the book. "And you will learn, my beautiful," assured Mrs. Teresa, getting up from the floor with Michael's help. "Next week, we start your private lessons with Grandma." Hannah smiled at Michael. "How was your afternoon?" "It was good, very good. I'll tell you later." That night, after the children had fallen asleep, Michael, Hannah, and Mrs. Teresa stayed talking on the porch, as had become their custom a few times a week. "You know what I was thinking?" said Mrs. Teresa. "How funny life is with its twists and turns. 3 years ago, I was at rock bottom, thinking I had no more worth, that I was a burden. And today, just look. I have 3 grandchildren, a daughter-in-law I love like my own daughter, a happy son, a studio that changed so many young people's lives. Life is truly unpredictable. And you deserve every bit of this happiness, Mom, said Michael, taking her hand. We all deserve it, added Hannah, but especially Mrs. Teresa, who went through so much and still remained a wonderful person. You're going to make me cry again. Mrs. Teresa wiped away a tear that was already falling. But they're tears of joy, tears of gratitude. Sitting there under the starry sky, the 3 of them reflected on the journey that had brought them to that moment. A journey marked by pain, but which had resulted in love, growth, and a truly united family. Michael looked at his mother, saw the wrinkles time had etched on her face, but also the sparkle in her eyes that wasn't there 3 years ago. He looked at Hannah, his partner, his best friend, the mother of his children. And he felt a deep gratitude for having had the courage to make the right choice that day, 3 years ago, when he saw the scene with the garden hose. Because in the end, it didn't matter how much money was in the bank, how many deals he closed, how big his company was. What mattered was this. Those simple moments on the porch, with the people he loved. The children's laughter in the morning, the smell of his mother's cooking in the kitchen, Hannah's tight hug before bed. That was success. That was happiness. That was what was truly worth it. End of story. And you? What did you think of this story? Did Michael make the right decision by defending his mother and calling off the wedding? Leave your opinion in the comments. We really want to know what you think. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories like this one.